Hello and welcome to the She Reads Truth podcast. She Reads Truth creates beautiful, accessible Bible reading plans and resources to help you get into God's Word every day. Each week here on the podcast, we talk about what we're going to read together as a community this week. I'm your host, Amanda Bible Williams.
And I'm your other host, Raechel Myers. This is week 3 of our This is the Old Testament series. As you could probably guess, we're going to roll right out of This is the Old Testament into This is the New Testament following week 7 of this series. But today we're in week 3, and so we're going to start in 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job. So excited to talk with our guest today. Here with us in the studio is Ashley Gorman. Ashley serves as a senior acquisitions editor at B&H Publishing Group. She holds a Master's of Divinity from Southeastern Theological Seminary. She has been trained under the Charles Simeon Trust. This girl knows and loves her Bible. Y'all, this episode with Ashley is a special one. Let's get right to it. Ashley Gorman, welcome back to the She Reads Truth podcast.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be back.
I still think about our conversation from last fall when we talked about John.
Oh my goodness. The end of John. That was an amazing conversation. I also have had those moments where I've thought about it and I'm like, I think we talked about the identities of Jesus in that.
Yeah.
All the things that it was exposing. I was like, I don't even think I went into the high priest, like him as high priest as one of these. I did intercessor and I was like, I miss high priest. And that's all of John 17. You know, those moments you're like,
I know.
I could have said 5 more things.
And that's the thing, when we limit ourselves to an hour, but one of the things that still sticks with me, and I wasn't planning to talk about this right now, but one of the things that still sticks with me is when you talked about like the stone that Jesus was laid on.
Oh, the mercy seat.
The mercy seat and like the 2 angels, and you're like, where have we seen this before? And I was like, the Old Testament.
Exodus.
And like, I will meet you on the mercy seat. And so y'all listening, if you haven't listened to that episode, it's I think our last episode of John from last fall. Highly recommend, but it makes me excited, Ashley, to like have you come back in Old Testament context.
Yes.
We're doing kind of that high level thing where we're not going through John, but we're going to cover a brief 8 books of the
just 8 books
Old Testament in this hour.
Yeah,
if you felt pressed to cover the 5 chapters of John,
how am I going to do all these books
fall.
of the Bible? That's amazing.
They're not short books.
They're not. It's not like the Minor Prophets.
Yeah. Yes, but I kind of like this reading style because you guys normally go book by book, but this forces you to get the high points, to understand the high points of what's going on. And interpreting the Bible in large chunks. Like, what is this chunk of the scripture saying and trying to do versus the next chunk? So this is a good way to approach it.
It feels like our hope is that we'll be a really good biblical literacy win for the community.
That's great.
And so, we sparing no more minutes. Like, let's jump into 1st and 2nd Kings. We'll do, for y'all listening, you have your reading guides hopefully in front of you. If you don't, go grab one right this second because this is a 7-week study and so you have time. I think the code is OT15 for 15% off of this book in the shop shereadstruth.com. But let's jump into it. 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job.
No pressure.
Go.
Wow.
Let's go. Okay, so first thing is like, where does this fit in the Bible storyline?
Yeah.
Where are we? What's going on? Let's like orient ourselves to the terrain. So 1st and 2nd Kings is tracing Israel's decline from Solomon's reign through the divided kingdom, exposing how covenant unfaithfulness leads to exile. So Israel's exile to Assyria, you have Judah's exile to Babylon, fulfilling a lot of the warnings embedded in Deuteronomy. So this is connected to Deuteronomy.
Yes.
Deuteronomy says, hey, if you do the X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen to you.
Yep.
And now we get the story of, guess what? That came true.
Yes.
They did do that, and they did fail in some ways, and it did lead to consequences. And so we're watching the consequences play out.
Yeah.
So there's warnings embedded in Deuteronomy where we're watching that fulfillment happen. 1st and 2nd Chronicles retell a lot of that history. So you're going to see a lot of similarities between 1st and 2nd Kings.
They're kind of like parallel lanes. Right?
That's right. Exactly. They're looking from like a different vantage point, but they spotlight similar things. The Davidic line is spotlighted there, the temple worship, and the hope that God does not abandon his promises, which is great. So those are kind of history. Ezra and Nehemiah are narrating the return from Babylonian exile. So they're going into exile in the history books and they're coming back, and the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. Let's rebuild some stuff. And Jerusalem's wall. So it shows sort of a restoration, or at least a partial restoration of what was, but also just ongoing spiritual issues are happening and spiritual fragility of the people. Esther is revealing God's providential preservation of his people in Persia. when his name is not really mentioned, which is interesting in the book of Esther.
Right.
While Job kind of steps out of the national storyline of the nation's history and what's going on in the nation. And he wrestles with righteous suffering as so we zoom down on this individual experience of righteous suffering. And from a genre perspective, so that's sort of what's going on in all those books.
Yeah.
From a genre perspective, Esther and Job also introduce us into the transition in a new section of the Bible's anthology. So if the Bible is a library of books, they're organized in certain ways. And we're transitioning away from the history books and into the poetry or the wisdom books. Mm-hmm. So this is also a genre shift.
Yeah.
So Job steps out of the storyline because it's also starting a new movement in the anthology of the Bible. We're leaving history and story, and we're going into wisdom literature. So that's Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Lamentations, Song of Solomon. That's the poetry. Mm-hmm. We're not covering all that today also, but that's all of the wisdom books that are coming up for us. So we've covered the law so far, or the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. Then we get the story of God's people with the history books. That's Joshua through Esther.
Yep.
And then we embark on the lessons learned, right? The songs that come out of the whole story, or the pithy wisdom quotes that come out of the learning that happens. The way that I talk about this in biblical literacy classes, or if I'm teaching somewhere, is the beauty of the poetry books is that you could read the history of the presidents of the United States.
Yeah.
And you could talk about Abraham Lincoln as one of the presidents, and that would be factual information in the textbook. And you learn in the history of Abraham Lincoln that he goes away from Indiana and then he comes back home, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's just sort of how you learn in the history books. But then the poetry is he wrote a poem called My Childhood Home I See Again.
Okay.
That's his experience of returning home to Indiana. And it reflects on memories. It reflects on aging. It reflects on the death of friends. It's you get these lessons learned, this wisdom coming out of him that's different than the history books. You don't just get the fact that he moved home. You get what it felt like for him to move home.
Oh, interesting.
So the Psalms are sort of that way. It's the history books tell us David did bad stuff with Bathsheba. And then Psalm 51 tells us what it's like on the night that he repented. Yeah. We get the poem that comes out of that. We get the song that comes out of the lament, So anyway, the hard-won wisdom is what you get in the wisdom literature of they're looking backward over their story, and this is all the wisdom that comes out of it. So it kind of brings history alive to us in a different way. So that's sort of the genre. So that's where these books are in the storyline, how they're organized in the Bible, and how they help us interpret all that's going on and experience it from different angles, which is really fun.
That overview is just so helpful. Just to remember that the Bible is one story. And so then when we in the fall, we'll be jumping into Daniel, Luke, these other books that feel disjointed. But hopefully, the time that we spend this summer looking at the Bible as a whole, the 66 books, hopefully it will just help us as we kind of situate ourselves into different individual books.
For sure.
To kind of understand where they belong.
Yeah.
So 1st and 2nd Kings, you said so it's coming after 1st and 2nd Samuel. Mm-hmm. So that's Solomon and the temple. Mm-hmm. And now we're in 1st and 2nd Kings.
Starting, I think, chapter 18.
Yep. We're looking at final days of King David's rule, looking at Solomon, and then the divided kingdom. Is that right?
Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. So this is the show. I can't believe I got assigned this chapter. This is also, I had another John moment where I was like, how did I get this chapter? This is the showdown between Yahweh and the Baals and Elijah and the fire fall moment. And I'm like, this
so
is
good.
One of the famous moments of the Old Testament. So I felt so honored. Good. I was like, oh, Lord, help me do this justice. But it's such a great moment, when I was reading through. First of all, the thing to recognize is the worship of Baal is officialized at this point.
Yes.
Jezebel has a government. I mean, these 450 all the way to 850 prophets of the Baals are supported by her government. Mm-hmm. This isn't just sort of, there's some crazy woman out in the wilderness chasing you down. She's got a government. She's supporting 850 prophets through it. This is very organized. And
that's good. That's helpful.
The official, the worship of Baal has been officialized in a certain way. And then there's a big drought. That's obviously the context of this. And so I find it interesting, I guess we can jump into the text. What I find interesting when I was reading through, in verse 21, Elijah took 12 stones. I mean, people know this passage, and what's typical is what stands out is that he fills it with water
Yeah.
Right.
And we know like fire's going to fall. And we're like, I can't believe that God could work through that much water. And it's his way of being like, you can douse this thing with water 3 times if you want, but the Lord is fire's going to fall if he wants it to.
I mean, it was soaked and flooded by the time he was done.
Flooded, yeah.
Like he made sure.
But I found it so comforting that in the middle of a lot of spiritual apostasy or adultery or turning away from the Lord and following Baal is that he uses 12 stones. He's communicating the unity of all 12 tribes, even though they're divided. Yeah. He doesn't just do 10. He doesn't just do 2. He doesn't just say this part of the faithful part gets to stick around. God is committed to all 12 tribes. There is a unification that God is committed to. And when he consumes it, he's consuming all 12 stones later, right?
Yeah.
And he's just committed to his people, even in like some of the ways that the details that the story is telling us, which is really beautiful. You can see, obviously, they're, following the worship of Baal in different expressions in different regions. But they're also still trying to do a little bit of like Yahweh worship too. Like they have verse 36, at the time for the offering of the evening sacrifice. They still have that's something for that. Yeah, like Exodus 29, Numbers 28. Like they're still following some of the rules that they're supposed to do. But they're incorporating the worship of Baal too. So it's this like syncretism where it's like, I want to worship the Lord, but I also want to worship this other God. Can I keep both? And this is that big question where he's like, why are you limping between 2 opinions? You're trying to do both, which is very similar to the Exodus. It's like they're trying to do the feasts unto Yahweh, but they're also mixing in the golden calf. Like they're trying to mix in Egyptian worship with Yahweh worship. And here it's the same thing on repeat. Wow. It's like you're trying to work in Yahweh worship, now this time with Canaanite worship.
Right.
You've learned your lesson with Egypt, but now you're doing the same thing on repeat, just with the Canaanite gods instead of the Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, in the way that the Lord proved himself to be better than the gods of Egypt through the plagues. I mean, y'all probably have already studied this ad nauseum, but like each one of the plagues is a way that Yahweh is showing himself better than an Egyptian god, better than the one that looks like a frog with the frog stuff, better than the one that looks like the fly with the fly, with the gnats and the flies. He's proving himself to be the one true God over the Egyptian gods. Well, here he's doing the same thing, just with a Canaanite god, with Baal. And I find it really interesting that it's like just a repetition of what we're seeing. It's another revolution in the learning cycle of the Israelites.
Not the first and not the last.
Not the first and not the last. What is, I think, really took me and astounded me this time around that kind of popped out. You know how you read a text and you're like, I've seen this a million times, but then something new pops out and you're like, oh, wow, was all these people had to do to try to get the attention of their God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their worship.
They're wounding themselves.
Yeah. Their worship rituals. I mean, and you have to back up a little bit. I mean, we start in verse 30, right? But then if you back up in 1 Kings 18 a little bit earlier than that, what does it say? Yeah, in verse 27, right before verse 30. So if you just back up a few verses, what are they doing? Verse 26. They both are called to give a bull. He basically says, we're both going to sacrifice a bull. We're both going to put it on our altar. We're going to see which God consumes the sacrifice, which God will have fire fall down and consume the sacrifice and prove himself true. And everybody's like, all right, let's do it. And in verse 26, they call upon the name of Baal from morning until noon, hours and hours, saying, Baal, answer us. But there was no sound. No one answered. They danced and raved around the altar they had made. And then at noon, Elijah calls them on it. He's like, maybe you have to shout louder. Maybe he can't make up his mind. Maybe he has wandered away. Some other translations actually would translate that literally as like relieving himself, the turn of phrase. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom, maybe he's on the road, like maybe he's wandering to and far. Maybe he's sleeping and has to wake up, And so they shout louder and they cut themselves with knives and spears according to their custom until blood gushed out over them they kept on raving until the offering of the evening sacrifice. They've been doing this from morning till noon till night. Yeah. But still there's no sound, no one answered, and no one paid attention. Those words show up later and they're kind of like a full circle bookend to the story of the God who pays attention, which we'll probably get to in a second. But look at all they're doing. Yeah. To get the attention of their God, it's like, I have to provoke my God to show me mercy. Yeah. I have to convince my God to pay attention.
To be mindful of me.
To be mindful of me, to see and to hear. Maybe maybe I have to wake him up. And this wasn't just turns of phrases. Like this was true of ancient worship of ancient deities back then. I was reading through this big book that outlines all the different deities of the Bible and how these people would have worshipped him.
I was reading this book.
I saw this book and I was like, I need to learn more about the God of this environment. Like what was going on? What was, I want to learn more. And so I bust open that book and it's like, this was commonplace for these people to have to do this. And it's because their gods were fickle, capricious, changed their mind. They were also lewd and like sexually harmful toward each other. Like we think of anytime like an American in 21st century world thinks about God or a deity, normally we think of purity. We're like, oh, pure and in the spiritual realm. And it's like, these were not, they didn't consider deities that way. They were usually birthed and created in violence. They usually were territorial and mean. They're one thing that worked today to help them, like get them to help us, won't work tomorrow. And so the fact that God gives like a consistent law in the Torah that's like, this is how to please me all the time.
Yeah.
I never changed. This is like, was so refreshing. We look at the law and we're like, that's so many rules. They look at the law and they're like, oh, we don't have to like wonder.
Yeah. Like when
every
Amos,
day. Yeah.
When Amos describes God as an unending stream, like that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's not a start and stop.
That's right. So there's so much they have to do to try to convince this God to care about them, to pay attention to them, to have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart that shows up. Yeah. And in their working definitions of what gods were like, sometimes the God would and sometimes it wouldn't. And you'll see, references to the Asherah poles and all that. Yeah. I mean, some of this, without being crass, I don't want to be crass, but some of this was like you're trying to stimulate the God to care about you because in their mindset, gods could relieve themselves. They did need to eat. Part of the sacrificial system of offering food to a god was because you had to provide food for them. Your god like needed you to do this stuff.
Yeah.
They have needs and you have to like stimulate them to get them to give you fertility, to give you agricultural bounty from the ground. And so part of the Asherah poles was like
a lot of reciprocity, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's a lot of like, if I do this, I can get the god to do this. It's controlling the god to give me what I need. And so much of the Bible is the Lord being like, I am God of the elements. I'm God of the sky. I'm God of the land. I'm God of the body. I'm God of the,
I made
God,
your body.
Period.
And I made it. Yeah. I'm the creator.
Yeah.
And you do not have to twist my arm. You do not have to perform. You do not have to harm yourself. In fact, there are direct violations in the law in Leviticus 19 and Deuteronomy 14 that God opposes self-mutilation.
That's right. Yeah.
He's like, don't do that you don't have to do that to get my attention. Yeah. My eyes are always open. I don't slumber or sleep. I'm not asleep. Right. You don't have to wake me up.
I don't change like shifting shadows.
I don't change. Yeah. I'm not like those gods. And so much of this is he has no rival. Yeah. Like there is no one like me. There's no one beside me, no one above me. Like there is no God like Yahweh. And they are trying to compare them and there's no comparison. Yeah. Like he's just superior and not because he's on a power trip, but because he actually knows how created reality works. Yeah. He made it and he knows what is fruitful for it and the right design for it. And you don't have to jump through all these hoops to get his attention. Yeah. So what jumped out to me is look at them and the worship of this false god and all they have to do to try to get this God to care about them. Yeah. And then all that Elijah has to do. Yep. Yeah. Elijah approaches the altar and said, all he does is pray. He says some words. Yeah. And he believes God's listening. It's simple. It's like,
read it, Ashley.
Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, today, let it be known that you are God. That's the whole point. Let it be known that you're actually the God of the sky. You're actually the God of the land. You're actually the God of the body. You're the God of these things. And I'm your servant. So I'm going to acknowledge who you are. I'm going to acknowledge who I am in light of that. And at your word, I have done all these things. I'm trying to obey you. Answer me, Lord. Answer so that these people will know that you, the Lord, are God. Again, doubling down on the purpose. I want them to know that you're the Lord, not Baal. And that you have turned their hearts back. You can move them back to you. Yeah. That's all he says. He doesn't cut himself. He doesn't do a dance. He doesn't rave. He doesn't have to do it morning to night. All he does is just say some words. I'm like, you just prayed. Like, that's all you had to do. That's amazing. And fire fell. The next sentence, and the Lord's fire fell and consumed the burnt offering. They have been begging and begging and begging and performing and performing and performing, and nothing is happening. Yeah. And when you talk to, and it's because it's a God that is not actually Lord over all of these elements. It's a God pantomiming as if he is. Yeah. and the Lord is the true God. And so his fire falls. And this is like an interesting tidbit to me with these gods of the Old Testament. But I think what's happening here, there's two kind of viewpoints on this. There's who is God contending with here? Mm-hmm. Who is Baal in this region? Like, what is he known for? What's going on here? Some would say this is the traditional god of Mount Carmel that's been there for years and years. Others would say, no, Jezebel, her dad is the king of Tyre, and the common expression of Baalism is Melkart, the god Melkart. And Melkart literally means king of the city. He's king over this whole city, and he's over the prosperous things that will help the city, whether that's agriculture. But he is known by his symbol is an eternal fire.
Okay.
He is like fire. Mm-hmm. So the symbol, if you're like at a Melkart festival, which by the way, there's all this myth and lore around the way he became a god, was like, well, he used to be this king and then he actually like ended up divine, but he goes to sleep and we have to wake him up. He goes to sleep and then we have to wake him up. And so you can like wake the gods up certain ways. So I think it's intentional that Elijah's like, is he asleep? Do you have to wake him up? Yeah. Because we serve the living God. I think he's calling Melkart out. Like, I think he's like, the local expression of Baalism is probably Melkart because that was Jezebel's God. And she brings it into worship into this place from her upbringing. There's alternative views on that too. I don't want to say that's a definite, but a lot of scholars think Melkart is the expression that they're contending against here. And he would be the king of the city and the god of fire, the god, you know, he's this everlasting flame who is over death and coming back to life and death and coming back to life, which is interesting because just before this passage, there's a boy who's dead and comes back to life, and it's Yahweh who brings him back.
Yeah.
So who's actually the God over death and life? Yahweh is. And then in the next chapter, who's actually the God of agriculture and who's actually the God of the sky who can make fire fall, who's the eternal flame? Yahweh is, right? Yeah. So all of this is like pointing to Melkart is not God. Baal is not God, like the Lord's God. And I think it's really interesting that he says, you know, why do you keep on limping between two opinions? I think this passage, this translation says wavering. Yeah. But the technical, another translation would say.
This one says limped.
Limping.
ESV says limped. Yep. Mm-hmm.
ESV, I think, says limped. Mm-hmm. And it's getting closer to, and I think it's because they're limping around the fire. If you watch them like doing their ritualized dancing and cutting themselves, they're so hurt they have to limp around the fire.
Yeah.
Mm. He's basically saying,
goodness,
quit limping between two opinions. You have to hurt yourself in order to follow your God. Follow Yahweh, like he's good to you. Yeah. He knows, he's a good God. He's not fickle. And
then verse 39, when all the people saw it, they fell face down and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God.
Oh my goodness. That's the goal of the whole showdown. That was the two things that he prayed. I want them to know that you're the Lord. Yeah. I just want them to know that like it's not Baal they have to trust in and do all this stuff for. Yeah. And then they come around. So the Lord, and I think Elijah's name means the Lord is my God. Mm-hmm. So they're saying like what his whole purpose is for existing. It's like, which is just all these play on words, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting how, I mean, this is one of those stories that is like this epic moment in the Old Testament, but it also, there's so much about it, especially hearing that amazing explanation, Ashley, of how I just hear so many echoes of like the full books of First and Second Kings and like what's happening here and how this story represents so much of the broader story in so many ways that Yahweh is, he is their king. And yet, you know, they turn away, they have to be wooed back, that he's stands ready to be good and merciful to them. And I mean, 2 Kings, the key verse, for the sake of his servant David, the Lord was unwilling to destroy Judah since he had promised to give a lamp to David and his sons forever. Keeping his covenant, he has every reason not to keep his covenant.
No.
Except for his character and who he is, and then his God.
He does not have to be provoked to mercy.
The sake of his own name.
Yes. He does not have to be provoked to mercy. The Lord is built in. Mercy is one of his fundamental attributes. You don't have to provoke him to be merciful to you. It's natural. He wants to be merciful. He longs to be merciful to you. How many times do we have to like hear that in the Psalms and I think Lamentations? He actually is provoked to anger.
Yeah. That's interesting.
He's not angry quickly.
Yeah.
He's actually slow to anger. It takes a lot of provoking to make him mad.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to provoke him to mercy. And it's the reverse with God. It's like they're naturally fickle and capricious and angry at you and mad at you and making you work for it. You have to provoke them to mercy and you expect them to be angry. Yahweh is the reverse. It's fascinating to me and beautiful to me. I'm like, we serve a gracious and loving God. But yeah, so what I get out of this is like, you don't have to shout loud enough. You don't have to dance hard enough. You don't have to cry. You don't have to heap up empty phrases. You can approach the Lord in his throne room anytime you want. I think of Hebrews 4, that's like, approach the throne of the Lord in boldness.
That's right.
And in confidence that he is ready to give you grace and mercy in your time of need. Because he proved himself that way here. That's exactly. Now, the bottom of this story, the king story, you just brought up the king. He wants to be their king, spirals down in terms of king after king after king until the true king comes, which is Jesus. And I love that you guys put Matthew 2 here. Who is king of the Jews? Like the real king comes on the scene.
That's right.
And in, Revelation, I love that you guys put that in there too, that the King of Kings and Lord of Lords is written on his robe. That's who he is at his core. And he is king over Ahab.
Yeah.
Like he is king above David. He's king above Herod and Matthew. He's king above Melkart. He just reigns supreme and he rules the world with justice and mercy, unlike these other gods that they're worshiping, which David's prayer gets at in a couple pages. So let's flip.
Yeah.
David's prayer gets at this in a couple
First
pages.
Chronicles.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right. So
I was look at you with the transition.
I was like, look at this. This is that they picked the
Gets
perfect
us right
verse.
to it. Yeah.
You guys are so great at this. But I look at First Chronicles 29. If we flip a couple pages in the reading plan.
Tuesday's reading. Yeah.
That's right. First Chronicles 29:11. Yours, Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the splendor and the majesty for everything in the heavens. Everything in the spiritual realm, everything in the heavenly realm, any spiritual being that's trying to contend with
imagined
Yahweh.
Or real.
Yeah, imagined or real. It's like whether it's Baal, whether it's Melkart, whether it's some spiritual entity, whether it's principalities and powers, right? Everything in heaven and everything on earth, the kings of earth, Ahab, David, Herod, belongs to you. Like you are Lord over all of them. There, you don't have a rival, whether it's the kings, the princes of earth, or the princes in the heavenly realms, you're above them all. And yours, O Lord, is the kingdom. This big kingdom is yours, and you are exalted as head over all of it. Nothing is happening. You don't have somebody equal to you on the org chart.
Yeah.
Everything's under you.
Everything.
And you just don't really have
Even
a rival.
HR.
There's no contender.
Yeah. Just everything.
Everything. And I love in the difference in behavior here in verse 14, but who am I and who are my people that we should give, we should be able to give as generously as this. So they're giving to build. For everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your own hand. The difference here in behavior toward this is you're not getting God's blessing the way that these people have to work so hard to get him to pay attention and provide for their needs. This is literally a reversal of that, where we're not trying to get his blessing with all this performative stuff. Everything we're doing is a response to the blessing we already have.
Yeah. This is David's prayer. And he's just going we are aliens. We are temporary residents. This is verse 15. We're temporary residents in your presence, as were all our ancestors. Our days on earth are like a shadow without hope. Lord our God, all this wealth that we've provided for a building for you, for your holy name, comes from your hand to begin with.
Comes from your hand. Right? You're the one who provides for all this stuff.
Everything belongs to you.
That's right.
Says.
This is what they were missing a few pages before. When they thought everything came from the hand of Baal. And it's no, everything comes from the hand of Yahweh. And when he longs to open his hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing. And look at all you've given us. Look at a different posture they are. They're not limping around. They're not limping around. They're reveling in abundance. Yeah. They're, and they're giving, look at that, giving joyfully and willingly to you. That's totally different posture. And if you flip to the next page, what verse is that? 22, they ate and drank with great joy in the Lord's presence that day. Yeah. They're being filled with abundance. They're not desperately seeking to be provided for. Or I look at verse, let's see, you keep going in Second Chronicles 7. Second Chronicles 7, let's see, where are we? Verse 10, rejoicing with happy hearts. For the goodness of the Lord had done for David. It's this is the posture of somebody who's receiving all that Yahweh wants to give them and trust that he is the creator of all and the one that provides. This is the kind of posture you can have in his presence. Yeah. it is the opposite of limping around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, talk
know?
about the opposite of limping around, like this Second Chronicles passage. And we don't spend a ton of time in Second Chronicles, but what we do, it's this dedication, like of the temple and this prayer of Solomon and then the Lord's response. And what does he say? Like, because like Solomon's just praying and like, yours, Lord, is the kingdom.
Yeah.
And God says in response, if I shut the sky and there is no rain, or if I command the grasshopper to consume the land, or if I send my pestilence on the people, and my people who bear my name humble themselves.
Yep.
Pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land.
Oh, what a beautiful
I don't
verse.
need you to bounce around and hurt yourself and hurt each
Yeah.
other. That's not the kind of God I am.
No, all you have to do is come to me.
You
And
who
talk to
already,
me.
and he's not
Yeah.
saying you will then bear my name. He's saying these people who are being foolish, who do actively bear my name,
Yeah.
if you will turn toward me and humble yourself.
It's the contrast to how Baal worked. It's the opposite of how it works with
Yeah.
Baal. Yeah. All you have to do is come to me. And you get this as a parent where you're like,
yeah.
when your kid is rebellious in their heart toward you, when they're just stiff arming you and they're fighting you, what you want is to say, hey, just like pause on that, turn from that, like,
Yeah.
and just come, like, let's talk.
Yeah.
Come to me. I just want to connect with you. Like, this is turn from your evil ways and come and pray and seek my face. Like, get my face. We do that with our toddler, with our little boy. He's 2, almost 3. And when he's all over the place and like can't function, regulations out the window, we'll say, come get my face. Come get my face. And he'll put his little hands and he'll get my face, and I'll say, there you go. Okay. This is what, and I'll be able to help him as he moves forward. And it's like, humble yourself, calm, turn from what you're doing and look, get my face, like seek my face. And
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like they're his children. And this is such a more beautiful way to turn and receive blessing than the way they're trying to receive blessing through these false gods.
Yeah.
And then look at verse 15. My eyes will be open and my ears what? Attentive.
That's right.
That's literally the opposite of what was happening at the showdown, where it said there was no voice heard and there was no one paying attention.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your God's not paying attention, but look, God's eyes are open and his ears are attentive.
Yeah.
He has eyes to see and ears to hear, man. He's the living God. And there's nobody like him. It's so
Amen.
good.
Amen.
And my eyes and my heart will be there at all times.
Wow, Ashley.
His heart is there. His eyes are there. His ears are there. He is the living God. And he's so much better to follow. Like, he's just so much better. I think people look at the call to turn from false gods as this, like, people are waiting with a whip in their hand and they're like, turn. And there is a reverence to the Lord that we need to carry. He is the creator and that we will give an answer to him. We're going to have to account for our whole life, At the same time, the beauty of it is that he's so much better. It's not just that he's so mad, and he does have a right to be wrathful at what they're doing because they are hurting themselves, they're hurting other people, and they're committing adultery against him, their heavenly husband and groom. But it's like, on top of that, he's also so much better than the others. He's not just mad, he's better for them. Anyway, I love that passage. I'm like, oh, talk about a complete contrast to what was going on at the showdown. So good.
All right, friends, Father's Day is coming up. And if you're like me, you love capturing all the moments that make up your family's story. The funny thing is, so many of those photos end up living on our phones where nobody ever sees them again. That's one of the many things I love about Aura frames. We have an Aura frame at our house, and I love being able to add photos from all of the everyday moments of our lives, the memories that would otherwise get lost in my camera roll. It turns those photos into something we actually enjoy together. So if you're looking for a gift for Father's Day, which is coming right up, Aura makes it incredibly easy. You can preload photos before the frame even ships, and you can keep adding new photos from anywhere. Plus, every frame comes packaged in a beautiful gift box ready to give. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save now by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $35 off the best-selling Carver mat frame with code READSTRUTH. That's AURA frames.com, promo code READSTRUTH. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, friends, summer is here and in full swing. And if you're looking for a healthy, convenient, protein forward, because we're all on that protein train, and delicious snack to keep on hand this summer, I would love to introduce you to Mosh protein bars. Whether you're headed to the ball field or the pool or the airport, or you're just out running errands, Mosh bars are the kind of snack that's easy to toss into your bag and have ready when hunger hits. One of Oprah's favorite things, Mosh bars are made with ingredients that support your brain and your body, including ashwagandha, lion's mane, and omega-3s, plus cognizin, which supports focus, memory, and mental clarity. And the best part is they taste great. They're one of those rare protein bars that actually feels more like a treat than a compromise. And now you, dear listener, can save on Mosh while making it an easy part of your wellness routine. Get 25% off plus free shipping on your first 15-count variety pack. And then get 20% off for life on your monthly subscription. And you can swap flavors anytime. Head to moshlife.com/shereads and subscribe today to get 25% off your first variety pack and 20% off your monthly subscription with code SHEREADS. That's moshlife.com/shereads. Start building better brain health into your everyday with Mosh bars.
Oh, we have to keep going.
I know we have to keep going. This is so hard.
So good.
Just like,
okay.
real quick, Ezra Nehemiah.
Right, another double
I
on
know.
one day.
Gracious.
I know. Okay, so take a breath. Ezra Nehemiah. Okay.
Take a drink of water.
It is
Take a drink of water.
different.
Yeah.
It's a
Everybody
little
just
different.
a little bit different.
It kind of zooms in a little bit.
Yes. So this is the rebuilding of the so it's like, okay, you guys were sent into exile. You had to deal with your consequence. Now you're coming back out of timeout. And we're rebuilding what we tore down, which is, again, parenting. It's like there is a moment of you having to like sit and think about what happened. And then you have to return to what you messed. You have to clean up what you messed up. You did some stuff that then messed up the relationship, the presence, the fellowship with the Lord, right? And let's rebuild. Let's do some building to what we tore down. We tore something down. Let's build it back up.
I think we studied Nehemiah last fall. Am I remembering that right, Amanda? I just remember one of our guests last fall talking about just the reality of, who knows, Ashley, it could have been you, that was just talking about like the rubble. Like that there's not just like, it's not like, all right, new construction, it's renovation.
You have to.
There is rubble. Like that's the reality. And like there are things that have to be cleaned up before you can just start building.
Yeah, you have to clean up. You have to look at that's some of the hardest restorative work if you've ever been. And that can happen relationally.
Yeah.
That can happen in marriage. That can happen in friendships. That can happen obviously in the church. But it's, anytime you do destructive work in a relationship, you have to like look at what you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And kind of like wade through the rubble, and then you can get to work at rebuilding. But they're having to look at what their actions caused, which is really hard work. But God is so faithful and like committed to them in the work. And so they're doing restoration work.
Yeah.
And I love, the temple theme is big here. You guys connected this in John 2 and in 1 Corinthians 3, which I love how much you guys tie the whole Bible together in these reading plans. It's like one of my favorite things of what you guys do. But like, let's start rebuilding, and their hands were strengthened to do his work. And the temple is, people can get lost kind of in the details. The big thing to keep in mind is the temple is God's meeting place. It's where God and man meet. It's where God dwells with his people. And so they're trying to rebuild the place where God's going to dwell. And then you fast forward to the New Testament, and you have that the temple is Jesus's body, and the temple is Jesus's, and by extension, because we're his body, by being connected to the head, also his bride is the temple.
Yes.
Because we are one body with him.
A holy priesthood.
Yeah, that's right. And so what I love about when I look backward and interpret backward is that we don't have to look back and pine for a better temple, because some of the things they're feeling emotionally in these books are, the old temple was so much more glorious.
Like, and it says they're in tears.
They were in tears.
Some of the older guys who were around for the first temple, and they're seeing
the second one, and they're like, it is not even anywhere
it's
close.
Fine.
Wept loudly.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they saw the foundation of this temple.
This is not the same.
And many shouted joyfully. Like, it's just like a collision of emotion. There's so much.
They're so happy to be done with exile, and they're so happy to be rebuilding, but then it's like, hard to rebuild. It's not going to be the glory of the first one. You got to mourn the glory of what it was, and you have to rebuild what it can be, but it's not going to feel the same. That's the consequence of tearing something down and having to rebuild it. And hard and it's beautiful. It's like restorative and there's a mourning happening. Like, that's rebuilding work no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. It's good grief. Like
it is good grief. That's a good word for it. Yeah. But for us in New Testament times, because the temple experience has been fulfilled in Christ and his body, we will never have the experience of being like looking back and pining for a better temple. We're never going to be like, oh, so much better XY back then.
Yeah, yeah.
We have the fulfillment of all that the temple was pointing toward. And so we have the real thing. Like that was a copy, that was a shadow, as the New Testament tells us. And the fulfillment is Jesus's body, Jesus's bride. And it's why in Revelation 21, 22, I saw no temple and the new city, because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple.
Yeah.
We're going to have the real thing.
We have a look ahead. We don't have to look back.
That's right. That's exactly right. We can look ahead and not back. And we have the real thing now. And we're living stones in the temple.
That's right.
Now it's people.
Yeah.
And not a building. And so the theory that like temple is like fascinating to me. I'm like, how are we like
the whole motif?
The whole motif is fast. Yeah, we're the temple. We're a living temple. We're just like little stones out in the world. And we're built into this body that is where God dwells with man is in us.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind every time I think about it.
I love it.
Fun fact.
It should.
It should. Something that I learned, I don't know when or how. Oh, I do know. I did a temple paper at one point. Don't ask me to recall much of it, but here's one thing I remember.
Oh, I'm sure it's wonderful.
I remember that in the New Testament, when we are called a temple, only one time is that an individual you.
That's right. It's a plural
Every
you.
other time, it's the church.
Is
it's
it a y'all?
collective. It's the collective
It's a y'all.
you. It's a y'all.
It's y'all are the temple. It's
the living stones make up the temple.
Yeah, the living stones put together individual make up something. They're building something.
And he's the cornerstone.
And he is the cornerstone. And also the head and also the
also the head of the body.
And all of it. Yeah.
And we're the priesthood.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So good.
So if you turn to Esther.
Yes, let's go.
I'm really trying. I know we are flying
You're
through
doing
this.
so good.
I'm having the best time. I'm having the best time.
Oh man. So Esther 4 is where we drop in. And I imagine listeners to this podcast are somewhat familiar with Esther. You probably know the story of Esther or read through it or heard a sermon series. It's a great story.
If they haven't read it before, it's 31 minutes to read. So like when you get to, is it Wednesday's reading? Thursday's
That's an
reading?
episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's an episode of a show.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You get the whole story in one episode.
So just sit down and on Thursday, if you have the time, read the whole book. It's beautiful.
That's right.
And so I kind of interrupted you, Ashley, but go ahead. You were just saying like, are they familiar? Are they not? If they aren't, it would not be difficult to become.
They can be.
Exactly right. In 31 minutes, you can be an expert on Esther. I do love that. I love breaking it down in 31 minutes because I'm like, that sounds like...
It feels manageable.
It feels so manageable. So Esther 4, we're dropping in. What I love about Esther is God's promise for the Messiah to come through this people group. That promise is just never going to be thwarted. What I see over and over in the Kings and how it's like, it seems like this is just the promise of the Messiah is just never going to come through this group of people. Like they're having to go in and out of exile. They're like on the verge of being obliterated so many times. And Esther is another story of that. It's a beautiful story and it kind of zooms in to these characters and like palace intrigue, Yeah. And so it feels like an episode of a show. It's
I like that
she's in the palace and
that's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so the story is different. It's zooming in instead of this big zoomed out story of king after king after king. This kind of zooms us in. But what I get out of it is, first of all, God's promise for the Messiah is going to come to this people group. It cannot be thwarted.
Yeah.
And God's name doesn't even have to be on the page for him to be at work. He's like, you can put my name in here or you cannot. And guess what? I'm king.
I will be glorified. Yeah.
And my promises are going to come true.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to see that and I'm not going to rush you to it, but Mordecai will say just this.
Yep. Not even annihilation from a strong and mighty king stands in his way. And he has proven that with Ahab. We should know that by the time we get to Esther.
That's a great point.
It's like, it should not surprise us that there's some king doing something foolish, trying to get in the way of the plan,
Yeah.
And Ahab couldn't stop him. And Melkart couldn't stop him. And Xerxes isn't going to stop him. Or ever, I can't say his name. What is his name here?
Ahasuerus or Xerxes, depending on if you're reading from a different translation.
It depends on the translation.
I just like to mix it up.
Ahasuerus. Same guy, though. It's like this king isn't going to stop him either.
Nope.
Like He is God of heaven and earth.
Or Haman, for that matter.
Or Haman.
And Haman will give it his best shot.
That's right. So the palace intrigue is, this girl you never thought. It's very cloaked.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole thing is hidden for a while. Nobody knows who she really is. And it's like the surprising characters are coming out of the light. And
King needs a new bride because Vashti's embarrassed herself and him. And
yeah, he's like, well, she's not making me look good. So she's out. She ends up there. She's so faithful to the Lord. The Lord is, his providence is, in every sentence, you just see his providence at work on how he's going to save his people through this very cloaked, hidden figure who's going in. It's sort of, how would I say this? Sometimes God will send fire down directly to do the work to show he's God and that he's going to overcome an earthly king. And other times he's like, I'll work incognito through a little Jewish girl, that you would never look twice at. You wouldn't look twice at her and she's kind of cloaked. And so I love that he works both ways.
That's really cool
sometimes
point.
we want the really big, showy moment of the showdown spiritually, and other times he's like, I'm going to work incognito. And a lot of that's I see a lot of Jesus in that, where it's like he didn't show up on the scene looking the way we would expect. We wouldn't expect this little Jewish girl to be the key, for how the faithful one that God works through.
The signs and wonders and like the feeding 5,000. And you're also going to get who touched me? Like I felt power go out from me.
That's right.
And you're healed from your faith. Like, that's beautiful. When Mordecai says, and like his faith is so beautifully evident here. I know that like Esther's sort of like our prize. But like for Mordecai to say to her, well, initially, in verse 4 or chapter 4, verse 13, he says, don't think that you're going to escape the fate of all the Jews just because you're in the king's palace.
That's right.
And then he says, if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come.
It will.
To the Jewish people from another place. So like this confidence that Mordecai has.
Yes.
In like,
great
Yahweh Yahweh has made us a promise. I have every reason to believe
it's going to come another way if you don't want to be. Yeah.
And so, sweet Esther, I love where you are. And I love, this is cool. You're not my hero here. Like, he's just truly saying, like, if you choose not to step up, deliverance is going to come.
That's right.
And then he says, and everybody likes the second half of this verse. I like the first half. But then he says, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this.
Yeah, he plants a seed. Like, perhaps you're here just for this. Can you see the connection points,
Maybe, but even then it's like, but maybe God will use you. It's not like maybe you could save us.
That's right. Yeah, he invites her to be part of the story, but she's not the hero of the story. And if you consider the work of God all the way across the scriptures, he is faithful to pull off what he says he's going to pull off. And sometimes he does it in a really overt way on the mountaintop with fire falling. And sometimes he does it in the shadows. But he pulls the plan off. And I love that. I love what you said, because it keeps us focused on what the Lord wants to do and what the Lord is trying to pull off, sometimes despite us.
Yeah.
And, Mordecai. He's this person of great faith. And sometimes you need a Mordecai.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, you can get in on the game.
Yeah.
I'm not putting the pressure on you. It's not all hinging on you because God's going to pull this off regardless. But you could participate if you want.
Yeah.
You could get in on the game. And sometimes I need people in my life that are like, hey, you're not that important. It could come from a different place. It could come from a different place. But don't you want to get in the game? Yeah. And she does, and it ends up happening through her. But he's full of faith that God will do this some other way.
Yeah.
Great, great faith. So I'm like, I love Mordecai's great.
And like the result of this story is beautiful. Like genuinely, if you have time on Thursday, read this book, because just like the way that like the edict had gone out for all of the Jewish people to be eradicated. And then this edict goes out to save them. And there's this day called Purim, I can't ever pronounce it, where they remember and celebrate like the way that the Lord saved them. And then there's just all the reversals in this story. It's like a stage play. Like it's just
reversal of fortunes are happening. Poetic justice is happening.
Yes.
It's just a well-written story.
It's so satisfying. There's just so much, because it becomes this, like, you get the Feast of Purim and even like the like reversals of Haman's fate with Mordecai's.
Yes.
All of this part of the story. I love it. And we have like these like really beautiful going deeper passages.
Oh, yeah. This is so connected to Genesis. I mean, Genesis 50, that was a passage that came, when you were talking about reversals, that came to mind anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You planned evil against me. God planned it for good to bring about the present result, the survival of many people. And that's on repeat.
Joseph.
That's happening over and over, which is what is happening here.
Yeah.
There was something being planned for evil against God people. God used it for good. And the present result was the survival of his people.
Yeah.
And the through line is like the Messiah is going to come from this people. God is committed to that happening. It doesn't matter how many people try to annihilate it. It doesn't mean how many times somebody tries to get in the way of it. It doesn't matter what king shows himself on earth or in heaven, a prince in heaven or on earth that are trying to like thwart the plan of the living God. He's going to see the thread through. Like it's going to happen.
I love it.
And this happens in a lot of ways with other kings. You'll see this story kind of on repeat in the Old Testament. I think of the Exodus with Pharaoh. This happens with Pharaoh. It's like he's trying to annihilate the people and then the babies are born. It's like a generation is saved. And through evil, he does good. Joseph's story is this way. This story is this way. It's like the people are on the verge of the end and there's some king in the way and God's like, I'm God.
My purpose will not be thwarted.
Pharaoh's not king and Ahab's not king and Melkart's not king and this guy's not, and Xerxes isn't king. Like, I'm king.
And so like take hope in that today.
Yeah.
God's purposes will not be thwarted. He is the king.
That's right. It doesn't matter how dark it looks.
Yeah.
This is why my personal key verse for Esther is in chapter 9. And it's talking about the date that they create the celebration. But in verse 22, it says, the time when the Jews got relief from their enemies, and is the month when their sorrow was turned into joy and their mourning into a day of celebration.
So good.
Like, that's the gospel. Our sorrow is turned into joy and our mourning into a day of celebration.
That's right. Well, yeah, and the gospel parallel there was sure destruction headed our way, and the Lord intervened.
That's right.
Through a plan that could not be thwarted.
That's right. And the rest of that verse, Amanda, is they should make them days of feasting and gladness, days for sending gifts of food to one another and gifts to the poor.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the gospel.
That reflects the heart of God.
So good.
That reflects the love of God. Okay, girls, I can't believe we've made it to book number 8.
Job,
for the
no
week.
pressure.
With time to spare.
Job is a quicker book.
Right. So
with
many.
a light
Sure.
subject
So
matter.
many chapters. Yes. Okay. So this is.
I just wish that our listeners could see Ashley's book right now. It is just like so many notes all over. I have like some notes and a lot of like, it's all up here. But I'm just like, tell me what you have,
I just
Ashley.
like, it's like a whole novel on top of these. It's amazing.
What a book, Job.
Job, I used to really struggle with Job. It was really hard to, I mean, obviously anybody.
That's fair.
It's fair. Like, look what happens to him. And it's definitely the book on suffering that people struggle with. But it gives me hope, and even the way that the interaction between the Lord and Satan, given all we've talked about, and now where it is, given where we end up by the time we get to Job in the order of reading, it is very clear that Satan, the highest prince of darkness, right, even he is on a leash.
Yeah.
That's right.
So by the time I get to Job, sometimes if I just jump into Job and I'm not thinking about everything we've talked about leading up to now, I miss the context.
It's good.
But when I jump into Job after having gone through everything we just talked through and all the stories the Bible's trying to tell me before I hit Job, is Satan is on a leash and he has to ask permission.
Yeah.
He has to ask permission for everything he does because he is, even as Prince of Darkness, God is head over all.
He is not all powerful.
Yeah.
He is not
he
the
is
king
not
of kings.
equal. It's not like they're, I think sometimes
peers.
people view God and Satan as peers. Like they have equal
arch enemies,
and they have equal power. And it's like if they were in an arm wrestling match, it would be really close for a while.
Toss up.
Yeah, it's like they have similar powers, and it's like they're not even close to rivals.
Yes,
Satan was a created being, and God is the creator of all. And Satan asks
such a good reminder.
Permission. He has to ask permission from the head of the universe before he can do anything, so that even our suffering passes through the hands of God. There's nothing he is not sovereign over. I think about the demons that are in people that are demonized in the New Testament, and Jesus heals the people, and they have to ask permission. Remember, please will you send us into the pigs? Don't send us into a bit. They're begging Jesus for certain outcomes for themselves. They're asking permission. I think about the bad spirit that's a messenger of Satan to Paul. people struggle when they're like, that was sent by God, because it says there, but I'm like, it asked permission. It wasn't outside of the realm of God. God wasn't surprised. It wasn't outside of his knowing, like he doesn't know what's going on the other side of the strategy meetings at Satan's table. Like he knows what's going on at that table. Peter, I think of Jesus and Peter, where Jesus is praying for him in Luke, and he says, Simon, Simon, I have prayed for you because Satan has asked to sift you like wheat. He asked if he could sift you like wheat. He had to ask. He had to ask permission to do any sifting for any person. Now, God will flip that and use it as a test, because there's a difference between testing and tempting. I think God is setting up.
It's a you can try.
Yeah. You have to ask permission. The Lord uses it for testing and not tempting. Satan wants to tempt you, and there's a difference in testing and tempting. You know, testing, I think the Lord is setting you up for success. He wants you. He's empowering you to push through the test and to succeed. Temptation is setting you up for failure. Like Satan wants you to fail. He wants you to fall.
That's interesting.
So the motive is different, but the Lord will always use it for testing. I just think of all these examples in the scriptures where it's very clear anytime like darkness is at work, it is asking permission.
Yeah.
And God is over Satan is God. Over Satan is God. When God says he's ruler over heaven and earth, that includes all types of authority in the spiritual realm, including Satan himself. Even over his own enemy. But he has that level of, I am the Lord and there is no other. And we have, by the time we hit Job, we should be like, oh, right, Ahab. Oh, right, Xerxes. Oh, right, Melkart or Baal. Oh, right, every prince that has set himself up against the living God falls, right? And the living God proves himself to be the true God over all. And so this time we're like working up the org chart, you know, as we look at each person contending against Yahweh. And now we're at the Prince of Darkness and we're like, what's going to happen? This guy seems to be the biggest contender, maybe. He's the accuser. You know, Revelation 12:10 tells us he's the accuser of the brethren. He accuses us day and night. And the question on the table, which I find interesting, is Job is worried I think it's chapter 1, verse 5. Job is worried that his kids would curse God. That's what he's worried about in the moment. I don't want my kids to curse you. I really want my kids to believe the right things about you. And now the question that the author poses is, will he fall prey to that which he is hyper concerned that others would do? I'm really hyper concerned that they will curse God, but then you know how his wife curses God. Will Job curse God and die? He's worried his kids will, but will he?
Right.
So that's like a switch that's happening in the text, which is really interesting. Yeah. And what I like is God contends for Job. He's like, I think the accusation on Satan's part is that Job's righteousness is really self-serving.
Yeah.
And so he's like, God, he is righteous, but only for certain reasons. And if you take away certain things, he won't be righteous anymore because he's treating you like these people treated Baal, right?
Right.
So they want it just for self-serving things. They don't love Baal.
You take all his stuff away and he's not going to
He just wants the stuff.
Yeah.
And so sure, he's righteous, but it's just self-serving. And the test is it?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think testing doesn't prove to God who we are. He already knows how the outcome's going to go. He knows how the testing's going to go. It's so we know.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to know that I love God.
Yeah.
I want to know that I'm not just doing this to get stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes testing does that for us. Yeah. We need to know it. God already knows it, but we have to go through the motions to figure out if it's true.
Yeah.
And testing does its purpose then, and then it kind of it purifies and refines so that we end up on the other side and we're like, my faith is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I held on to this even when it was really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't even when all the stuff fell away, I was faithful because I love the Lord just for who he is. And that's like a win at the end of a Christian life. Even when it's not, the fig tree's not blossoming and it doesn't feel abundant. It's like, I'm really glad for tests now that I look backward. It's never fun going through them.
Yeah.
But it did train me for a harvest of righteousness on the other side where I'm like, I actually know that I love the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't have to wonder now.
Yeah. I mean, going with that theme, Ashley, from the very beginning of this episode, talking about you just trying to get the gods of the world to pay attention, right? And talking, dancing around and just... And you described God, and Scripture described God as a God who pays attention.
That's right.
And so, when we read the book of Job, it's, I think, 42 chapters. It's not a short book, but there's a lot going on down on earth, in the book of Job. A lot of people back and forth wringing their hands about how Job should respond, and Job speaks, and the people speak. And not until chapter 38... God speaks.
God speaks.
Yeah, it takes 38 chapters.
For everybody to quiet down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
you might go through suffering for 37 chapters.
Yeah. Yeah. And then chapter 38, like God pays attention. He is paying attention and he speaks.
He's kept up. He's tracking with the conversation too.
And his answer, and his answer isn't like, thank you for asking. And like, I'm really sorry. Like, I know that you, like, it's not, he is God and he doesn't enter into the conversation at pedestrian level.
No.
He enters into the conversation at God level.
Yeah.
We won't read it all, but again, like this is a real open your Bible moment. Like if you have time on Friday to open your Bible and read chapter 38, he says things like, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me if you have an understanding. He says things like, have you commanded the morning since your days began and caused the dawn to know its place? Verse 22, have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or have you seen the storehouses of the hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of war? And he goes on, like, I don't even like have all of these marked in my Bible, but like, he's like, where were you when when the deer like in the meadow gives birth? Like, are you there for that?
Are you wise enough to do that?
To safely deliver? Like, are you holding back he's telling the ocean, go this far and no further?
Yeah.
And it's just, he doesn't enter on pedestrian level.
No.
And it doesn't mean that he's not right there with us.
No,
but he like, also is going, I am God. Like at the end, and like Job says in chapter 19, like, I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the end, he will stand upon the earth. And what God's saying is like, yes, and at the beginning I stood upon the earth, and every minute in between I stand upon the earth. Like, I am God and no one else is. Yeah. And it's just beautiful. And it doesn't mean it's not excruciating. And even like at the end of that book, like Job's fortune is restored like several fold. I don't know the number, but like he has another family. He has more riches. He has more cattle. And that's not the comfort. Like the point isn't like,
because he still
more
misses
things. And you know what? Like, spoiler alert, all of those things are also gone now. Like, including Job.
Eventually, he's going to lose
like,
all that too at the end of his life.
We have like a 100% mortality rate here on earth. And so, including Job and everything that even when his fortunes were restored. But at the last, God will stand upon the earth. And like, that is the God that rained fire down for Elijah. And that is the God who like made a way to save the Jewish people through Esther and Mordecai. And this is the God he is just sovereign.
Yeah, what came to mind when you were talking, that was beautiful, was I need the test. I need two things. One, sometimes I need the test and I need the Lord. So I need the test in the sense that like, if God has ultimate authority over every test, sometimes I might need it. In the same way, like Paul would say, the reason the messenger was sent to give him the thorn was to prevent him from conceit. He tells us the why. Paul gets the answer. Some of us teach that passage like, well, we're not sure why he had the thorn. Where I'm like, yes, he knew.
Yeah, we do.
It says right there, black and white. He did it to prevent me from conceit. I just saw a bunch of revelations up in the third heaven, right? And we could talk about what that means. But to prevent me from getting real conceited about that, I needed the thorn. I needed the test. I needed the affliction. It reminds me of the tree thing. Have you seen this? There's like somebody planted a tree in a very controlled environment to see if we could plant trees on Mars or something. I don't remember like the why, but they positioned a tree in some sort of dome and they were like trying to figure out if we could get oxygen from it. And the trees kept falling over even though the conditions were perfect. It kept being like dying. And they were like, what is it?
It's the wind.
It was the wind.
It needed the wind.
Yeah. It didn't have any wind. It needed resistance. Yeah. It needed to fight the wind, the pressing of the wind to get a tree cannot get strong without.
You learn that even in gardening. Like that's what they teach you when you have little seedlings. Like even if they're growing indoors under a grow light, any chance you get, you take them outside so that the wind can move them, or you even put a fan on them because they will not be strong plants, even if as seedlings they don't have wind.
They need resistance. They need a little bit of adversity. They need to learn their strength. It's like you need the test, you need the affliction, you need resilience. The pressing. To grow. You cannot grow. You will fall over if you don't have any. It's actually how we grow. We've like spend so much time trying to avoid pain or avoid affliction or avoid the test. And it's like, this is actually how growth works. Yeah. Muscles are the same way. If you go like work your muscle out, Right. So I need the test. Sometimes I need the test to prevent me from filling the blank. But more than I even need the test, and what I see in Job and what I'm hearing and when you say, is you need the Lord. The answer is the Lord. You just need the Lord. Like, and that seems trite. Yeah. Like it seems like such a theological Band-Aid answer. But it's so true. It's like he answers with himself.
That's right. It wasn't trite to Job.
No.
Because he didn't, not one time did God say, this isn't actually painful. You aren't really suffering.
No.
That was not
But
his
what
answer.
he said was, well, first of all, he didn't have to say I'm present because he was present speaking
Very clear that
to
he's
Job.
present. Yeah.
And he reminded Job who he is. And I don't think I used to read those passages as like, where were you? I don't read them like that anymore. I read them like, Job, like you do with your daughter, look at, or your son, like, look at my face.
Yeah.
Like I was there.
Yes.
Like I was present for things that you've never even considered how they happened.
100%. Our kids feel, there are moments where, and this is such, I'm glad you brought the parenting thing back up, because there's moments where they're freaking out, you know, and you get them and you're like, get my face. And you're like, honey, who built this house? Who got in this house for us? Like the environment you're in, who's responsible for it? Mommy and daddy are. It's not on your shoulders. Who's responsible for our backyard where you get to play? Who's like reminding them of things we've done that we're the architects, like we've created the safe environment. You're safe. Like, you know, and with the Lord, it's like, who did all of that? Like, are you in control of all of that? Do you? And I think part of it too is God, this is wisdom literature. Like God is showing that he's wise. Like if you think this succession of things, of experiences happening in your life, it's just not the wisest way to go about your life. Because the accusation we make against God is, there's a better way. Couldn't it have gone a different way? Isn't this unwise for you to do this to me? Like, you must not have all the facts or you would be doing something different. And I would be a better God. And he's like, who has the wisdom to build oceans and skies and trees and like the birth process and the rain process on the earth and the snow process on the, like, I'm really wise. I'm really, really, really wise. So if this is happening to you and powerful and loving, like I'm working with all the facts. And
it's good.
You can trust me with this. So there's, you know, there's like he did build created reality that I'm living in. I think he's strong enough and wise enough to manage this thing that I don't understand.
Amen.
So we need the test sometimes. We need affliction sometimes. We also need the Lord
to remember him.
We need the Lord to show up.
And he does pay attention. Like if the theme of this is that he pays attention, like, and there are so many King of Kings, but this was so good, Ashley.
Oh, thank you.
I loved this. Thank you so much.
You guys are the best. I could talk about the Bible all day with you guys.
Likewise.
That's what we love about you.
Y'all listening, usually this is the part of the episode where I'm like, don't outsource your Bible reading to the three of us, and don't. But like more than that, like, and usually also where I say like, this is your week to like be a woman in the Word of God or a man in the Word of God every day this week. But like, I don't know. I just want to be like, let this be your like table of contents for what you end up getting to read this week. Like if there's a book or books that you read for like one of these reading days in your guide and it makes you curious or excited, like go to your physical Bible, open your Bible and read more about this little bit that you're reading about. That's what it encouraged me to do.
Yes.
Like even this encouraged me to like open my physical Bible and read more. So that's my encouragement for y'all. Y'all listening, I feel like I need another hour with this one. This was great. Come back next week for another brief episode. Dr. David Filson will be joining us for week 4, and he's always brief. No, he's like the best. You're going to love it. Until next week, Ashley Gorman, what do we tell our friends?
Keep opening your Bibles.